is much smaller than was designed here. Good morning. I'm very happy to talk about after those nice people, really, because it was the first time this morning that I've heard something about humanity and people and communities other than success and money, and it made me very happy. It gives me the opportunity to just jump another grade, but on the same subject, on sharing. Scott, the word sharing was really great for me, and you too, and the open sharing. Feeling that there are no borders anymore and no closed doors anymore. This is beautiful, and that is why I came with this idea. We came, the center, you see, the Center for Mediterranean Culture and Urbanism, Bat Yam, in fact, is a center of thinking about urbanism and about the way how we can give the city or take the city back to its people. My issue is this global city, a proposal for a new definition. Tel Aviv is viewed both in Israel and abroad as the white city. The Rothschilds Avenue, sycamore trees, Bauhaus architecture, cafes, restaurant, and of course the tent protest that you see below. But this is but a small part of the city, one that is a very distinct character. In fact, Tel Aviv contains numerous other elements, some of which are well known and others less so, as you said before, Lee, both inside and outside the city. These are the mid-sized cities that border Tel Aviv, and you can see them. You can see in the east, to the east and to the south mainly, Ramat Gan, Givatayim, Holon, and Bat Yam. I would add Yafo, but Yafo is a real part of Tel Aviv. Nevertheless, how should we refer those cities? Independent cities? Satellite cities? Bedroom cities? Or maybe suburbs? Thinking of suburbs, the first thing that jumps now lately into mind is this when we say suburbs. Anyway, the conservative approach that predominated until not too long ago called them satellite or bedroom cities, or rather bedroom communities. This designation, which is not born in Israel, well known of course, but rather in Europe and United States, in the wake of the movement of refugees and the baby boomers after World War II, has an intriguing urban, geographic, and cultural history. We can see very well here. But this history and the philosophy that underpins it have led to a planning, cultural, and social deadlock. A satellite city has not real existence in its own right. It is entirely dependent on the main city for jobs and consumptions, including the consumption of culture. Even worse, it is incapable of, and I will add sometimes uninterested in, fostering an identity of its own, not one that is not a mirror image or a reverse reflection of the main city. A bedroom city, this is even worse. It's only a one room in the apartment. It has no kitchen, and what is worse, it has no den or work or somewhere to work in. All those definitions, and in fact all these characterizations, have produced cities that look like suburbs, feel like suburbs, but that are no longer sustainable suburbs because they have grown quickly inside. What you see now was that all the pictures that we took are from different cities, but can you tell the difference, in fact, from one another? Most people in the world, though, don't live in the big cities. They do live in those mid-sized cities. Until about 20 years ago, this growth had negative effects. It diluted the large city centers, emptying them of young people and the middle class, and exactly what the mayor said in the morning, the change in Tel Aviv, and they themselves began to look like a banal duplicate of that very same suburban model, as you might see here. Recent years have seen a reverse process, largely because of the dominance of the free market economy. And this is exactly what happened to Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv has awoken impressively into life. I lived in Tel Aviv in the 70s, and the change is so huge that it will take me half a day to tell about it. So it did become a global city, though it starts becoming a global city, and it becomes an attraction to what Professor Richard Florida called the creative class. We in Bat Yam call them the sissy people. The creative class, this is not Tel Aviv, of course, you can very easily tell, but what happens here, this is one of my favorite posters, calling people, these sissy people, these creative class people, to come to Washington, D.C. This was a thing 10 or 15 years ago. Come to the city, be a part of our creative city. So what happened in the mid-sized cities around Tel Aviv? The municipalities in the mid-sized cities realized immediately that if they want to prevent their good and talented population from moving out and seeking its future in Tel Aviv, they should supply their citizens with excellent services in all areas, from education, culture, to top-quality green constructions, which they, not all of them, but they tried to do in the best way. More important for us as people who observe this change, they made an effort to give their cities a distinct identity. Those of you who don't read Hebrew, I will tell that every city, every slogan here, every logo here has a special sign, like the culture city, the children's city, the green city, whatever. Some do so by means of historical archive. Here you see a small city of Givatayim, really a small town, that praises now its historical background, the pioneers who built the city. And this is, of course, our pride, the Biennale for landscape architecture in Bat Yam, a very beautiful one. And of course, that too, International Biennale of landscape architecture. And this is also the Biennale. Well, forgive me for showing Bat Yam more than other cities, but this is Holon's children's city, which is a great success, in fact. It became the children's city. Everybody in Israel knows that Holon is the children's city, but this is, for my liking, and one of the best and the more beautiful places in Israel. This is the Museum of Design planned by the international artist Ron Arad, also in Holon, and I have to tell you a little story about that. When it was built and it was open in a great ceremony, the BBC radio called me and they wanted me to talk about this beautiful museum. And then at the end, after 20 minutes of talk about the museum in Holon, and I said Holon, I think 20 times or 30 times, the woman said, well, where exactly in Tel Aviv is Holon? And you got my point, okay. So what happened really is that Tel Aviv, being the biggest and in fact the only attraction for the CC people, since Tel Aviv welcomes thousands of new citizens every year, the cost of living increases, of course, constantly. The younger, hungrier newcomers, and also those of that CC class, of course, the CC group, the creative class group, who always seek challenges, start looking around for other opportunities So what they see is the mid-sized cities around. Surprise, surprise, the former bedroom cities are all ready for them now. This is us in Bat Yam. Creative class. We propose, therefore, a new designation for those cities. We call them intermediary cities. This is not our invent. We didn't invent it. The definition is the heading of a position paper that is being published this very week, or maybe this very moment, in Rabat, Morocco, by CIMES, the International Organization of Intermediary Cities, of which Bat Yam is a very proud member. CIMES is deploying a global network of mid-sized cities with an eye to identifying barriers, strengths, challenges, and joint solutions. One of the sections of the position paper relates to cities that lie on the borders of a metropolis and are in fact part of it. This is Bat Yam's contribution to the paper. This is what you see here is a plan base that they're doing all over the world, Europe, United States, even Africa. And we have this innovating proposal that views every part on its own, but also as parts that makes the whole. We suggest adapting policy to the new reality. Stop wasting resources and unnecessary competitions among intermediary cities and between them and the big city. Let's take a look, for example, of this unique street theater festival, which is both highbrow and very, very popular, of course, on the most beautiful beach of Tel Aviv, Bat Yam. And this is, we think, a Tel Aviv event and a global event in a minute. And please look at this sign. You know what it says? The Museum of Design in Holon, the most beautiful museum in Tel Aviv. Long before we started to use the expression global city, we had in Hebrew an ancient and beautiful name for it, city and mother, Ir va'em. The cities or town that surround it were called banot, daughters. And in fact, what does the word Metropolis mean? Mitera in Greek is mother, polis is the city. So this is our offer. Metropolis makes you think, doesn't it? Thank you.